Hello, come join me in this eternal moment as I aim to deliver you 3 techniques you can use right now to optimize your shadow work. Welcome to Astral Escapes. Here I teach metaphysical concepts, offer emotional guidance, and aim to further you along your spiritual path. Let class commence. Now, in today's session, I'm going to teach you 3 techniques you can use to implement in your shadow work. As a brief overview, number 1 is presence, number 2 is integration, and number 3 is manifestation. Now to step back, in step number 1, I'm going to talk about presence, I'm going to talk about being grounded, being aware, and ultimately listening through consciousness what is going on, what emotions are seeking your attention, because you have with yourself a multi-dimensional relation. There are many parts of you that you relate to on a daily basis, and when aligned correctly they turn into a symphony. When they're not aligned correctly, it turns into a loud mess that ultimately drowns out any authentic expression that is seeking to emerge through you into the material world. So the aim of the shadow work is to, at the genesis of it, is to listen and to become aware. And to listen and to become aware, you really have to simplify the process, simplify your relationship with yourself, simplify your daily to the foundation of listening, to the foundation of being, of relating to the sound of the voices of your emotions, of the many emotions that are being communicated, and to the many parts of you, and to the many experiences that you've had in your life that are communicating to you. So the shadow work ultimately is a lot about, at least in part to begin with, this listening process. Now, in order to listen, you're going to need to be grounded. You're going to need to strip back the unnecessary parts of yourself, that materialize in the world that aim to distract you, i.e. desires. Because through desires you're perpetuating the cycle. You're feeding these unheard emotions you're not aiming to resolve them. By feeding them, they grow larger and larger and larger, and the noise becomes louder and louder and louder, to a point where you cannot hear anything authentic, and you become lost in the ruckus. It becomes, that ultimately leads to a breakdown. Breakdown is ultimately a crescendo of madness. A crescendo of these unheard voices reaching to such a point that you cannot live your daily life functionally, because the noises of these unheard emotions are so screaming so loudly that they just reach a point where you can't materially engage anymore, because it's impossible. So this also requires you to be extremely honest and truthful about yourself, about what relationship you have with yourself, what parts of yourself are unnecessary and unhelpful and unhealthy that you still to this day are entertaining, that hinder you in your shadow work. Because you're going to need to be pretty brutal. You're going to need to be pretty brutal to kind of really pierce through the egoic front of perfection and rationality, because the ego is going to want to protect you. Ultimately, that's its role, trying to protect you through narratives of dismissal and of dismissal and comfort. It doesn't want to uproot the identities it's manifested with these unhealthy parts of you. He doesn't want to uproot it. He wants to maintain it. He wants to conserve it, preserve it, and keep your relationship to it ongoing rather than resolving it. So you're gonna have to be pretty brutal with it in terms of your total dedication to the truth, to yourself, to your relationship with self, and that really will be a massive psychic shift, because in that moment, by coming to terms and completing that first step, it will allow you to really open the gates to a new possibility, to a new relationship with yourself, which in turn will result in a new material reality. Now, moving on to step 2 is the integration part. The first step is becoming aware of the problem. The second step is integrating the problem. So again, you're going to notice that so far it's internal work. It's very easy and very common to solve problems materially, but so far it is heavy focus on internal and integrating these. Once you become aware of your unheard emotions, unheard stories that have become so loud that they distract you from your authentic self, it is time to integrate. So to become aware, egoically you're going to have preconceived ideas. This is good, this is bad, this is indifferent, this makes me happy, this makes me sad. And that's in the initial stage. You're going to have is awareness of certain patterns, and you're going to have opinions on them and judgments on them, and you're going to come close to some and distant to others, and then in some moments that will shift, and there's this motion, this fluidity, this you're not rooted in the awareness just yet. Through integration, you start to become rooted in it through acceptance, to be grounded in those truths rather than egoically relating to them through labels and definitions and good and bad and intimate and far away. To integrate is to accept, is to ground yourself in the truth, is to be the truth, is to be one with yourself, which is imperative, which is difficult, but is rewarding and is crucial, essential to moving on to the third step. Because until you've integrated your reality, your totality, you've integrated the harsh reality of your shortcomings, of unhealthy, of your past, of parts of you that in the past have not been resolved, that have not been connected to, that have not been listened to, it becomes impossible to move in a new direction. And to integrate will take time. It's a sort of war of attrition. There's no kind of beautiful or smooth or easy or clear cut technique. I mean, if I'm being honest, it's just, I'd love to provide you with a real beautiful magic pill for you to take and just to easily sort it out, but the technique really is just focusing on the true musings that come through, and the inspiration that they offer you will, if you listen carefully enough, will give you the source of hope to keep pursuing that path, and to be patient is the best piece of advice I can offer, because it will be tough, it will be messy, it will be chaotic, because your ego is not going to want to accept, it's not going to want to accept your shortcomings. It wants to protect you, it wants to keep you in comfort, it wants to preserve you from the shadow aspects of yourself. But to integrate is to no longer be fragmented, is to no longer be separate, it's to be whole, it's to be unified, it's to be grounded, it's to be rooted in you in your total being, no longer good, bad, whole, fully oriented to your authentic self. So with that said, we're going to move on to the third step, which is materializing this. And this is all about allowing step 1 and 2 to come through you, because the mind is going to want to intellectualize and complicate matters. It's going to want to take control. It's going to want to be a busybody. It's going to want to be front and center. You know, the ego wants to take credit. Oh, I created this and I created that and I planned this and I planned that, and he wants to sort of glorify itself constantly, which is kind of cute. And you let it have its moments, of course. You let it have its moments, but ultimately you're not. It's through this metaphysical transmutational process you've been involved in, which will take a matter of years rather than weeks. Through that process, because it's a process that will require you to be patient, to allow through time these things, these practices you've implemented, this new relationship with yourself that you've implemented, to carry through. And as long as you keep the channels open, because you're going to have to keep step 1 and 2 in constant motion in order for step 3 to work, which is, as you're allowing this to come through, you're always going to need to be aware of new shadow aspects that are emerging and integrating those ones. So it's not, step 1 and step 2 aren't just, just do them and then you've completed them. Unfortunately, again, I wish I could sit here and say, oh Matt, in 6 weeks time you're going to be perfect, you're off in the sunset. Unfortunately, if you want the real rewards, if you want the real fruits of your labor, if you want to reach the pinnacle of your potential, it's going to require you to keep step 1 and step 2 in constant motion. It's going to require you to keep them in check. You're going to need to really, that's the work, that's the creation, that's the essence of the shadow work, and in manifesting your authentic potential, your authentic self, and the pinnacle of your potential. Step 1 and step 2, and then step 3 is allowing it to come through. And that is so important, because up until now you're going to be in a habit, in a routine of thinking, creating from the mind, but you're looking to create from a metaphysical practice, one that is eternal, one that is not sourced in lack or scarcity, one that is eternal and limitless, and will provide you with what you need rather than what you want, and will offer you unexpected returns and unexpected timing, which is why I say in step 2 to hold, be patient, because it's not the most sophisticated or sexy technique or advice I can give you, but it is important to let these divine moments of inspiration come through, because they will come through in rather, to you, to the mind, erratic forms and erratic ways, and chaotic, like you can't really make sense of it. But over an extended period of time, through patience, you will start to see a purposeful pattern emerge. So with that, I think I just about covered it. And again, allow your authentic self, and you only allow your authentic self to come through if you have become aware of who you are and you've integrated who you are. Thirdly, you allow who you are. It really is non-intellectual and requires you to focus internally and allow that source of creation, those metaphysical practice, to permeate into your material. So I hope this provides a new perspective on shadow work, some new tools that you can use to progress you in this within this practice, and it's obviously, I will reiterate, it is a constant. This isn't something you can, if you're serious about really improving your life, this is something you're going to have to stick at. It's going to have to be a lifestyle shift rather than a sort of flash in the pan moment. But for those of you that do stick at it, you will reap untold rewards and you will find fortune. So with that, until next time, bye.